Ghost Doctor from 2022 is about a skilled surgeon who becomes a coma patient and possesses a first year resident who is the total opposite of him. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another review on the Review Garden. I started watching this K drama Ghost Doctor because, I wanted to see the latest drama that, well, I don't know if it's the latest, but this one is the one he's the lead in. So it's titled Ghost Doctor, and it's pretty much um, after episode one is where he starts being exactly what the title suggests. So let's take a little backstory into what's going on so far in episode one. So, Young Min, which is the skilled surgeon, he 12 years ago, when he was an intern, there was a patient who came into the hospital who needed an operation done, and the doctor in charge at the time didn't want to do the operation because there weren't any doctors available. And, young men didn't want the doctor to send the patient away. So he ended up doing the surgery for the patient. And ever since then, his career has skyrocketed. So he's pretty much who they look for, who they turn to. He's super skilled in what he does. And then in comes the intern. I think his name is Sotak, and he's like the total opposite. Whereas he's not that serious. He the first day he came, he brought everyone, all the staff, all the nurses, gifts, perfumes. So a little background about him is that he is the chairman grandchild, and then his mom also works in the hospital. The goal is for him to take over for his grandfather, whenever he's ready. So, usually, when they ask the question, why do you want to be a doctor? People normally say, because I want to help patients, I want to help people get better. But in this case, the way he answers the questions is because his mother made him and because his grandpa made him. So it's also important to note that, he's very smart, like super smart. Even in school, he used to get a knack out of asking questions that would, throw the teachers off. And, he always got good grades, pretty much was the smartest one in his class. But when it comes to doing surgery, he doesn't really know how to. There was a moment where, you know, he ended up being on Young Min's team. And there's a moment where, he started talking back at Young Min because of some patients that were there. They were in a coma, and Young Min was like, "Why are they still there? They need to get out of here." And kind of like he wasn't taking them seriously because they're in a coma, and you know, the new intern was like, "They're still people. You need to, take care of them." So because of that, he brought the intern, Young Min brought the intern into the operating room and had him operate on a patient, and he couldn't do it. And, afterwards, he kind of like made the smart remark about just because you're book smart doesn't mean you can, um, doesn't mean that's all that's important. You need to know how to practice. Being a doctor is about what what's in your mind and how you use your hand, not necessarily all up in your heart. I mean, I would beg to differ. I would say that all three of those things are important because, having a good bedside manner is also important for the patient. So I think all three of those are important to make a good doctor. So usually, young men gets to choose the cases that he or the people he wants to operate from or operate on, I should say. So the person that he needed to operate on, he was like, um, he shouldn't, because if he takes out the tumor, there's a possibility that it's going to come back and it's probably going to give the patient less time to, to live. And he should probably just live out the rest of his days at home. That's what he told, the other people at the hospital. And, the children of that patient came in to get, to pretty much ask him, like, hey, do the surgery. So the son came in and asked for them to do the surgery. When he went into the room with the patient, he noticed that the daughter of that patient, he knows her. And the daughter is his ex girlfriend from 12 years ago. So 12 years ago when he was an intern. So it sounds like she just left without a word when she found out who her father was, and has been pretty much living in Seattle in the US. So they haven't seen each other for 12 years. And I can sense some resentment on his side because he does not want to interact with her at all. So he ends up still doing the surgery for the patient. And while he was waiting for the patient to regain consciousness, he got a phone call, and he left the hospital. And all you saw after that was just, well, you heard the accident happened, and then they showed you the scene of people running to the injured people on the street. And he got up from the car and kind of went to go help the other victim that was on the floor, but he noticed that people weren't listening to him. So after that, he went, he also noticed that while he was trying to go give the patient CPR, his hand went through the body. He also, while he was walking, he saw somebody go through him. And then that's when he noticed that his body was still in the car. So now he's turning into a ghost, right? So normally, like when they turn you into a ghost like that, that means there's still a part of you, like you're still alive, like there's still a part of you that's still there for you to become a ghost. And obviously, this is just episode one. We do not know why or how he became a ghost. But there were rumors in the beginning that said that, he was taken over by a spirit the day he decided to do the operation when he was an intern 12 years ago. So we don't know for sure if that's the truth, right? But that's the question we're asking ourselves, how did this happen? And why? How did he become a ghost? Right? So he goes, they bring him to the hospital. He's in the car with his body. The ghost version is in the ambulance with his body. And then um, when he gets to the hospital, he's taken to the ER. The intern was in charge that night. So, you know, he's in charge because there was another reason Young Min got mad at him, and instead of being in the other department, he sent him down to the ER. So when he comes in, he's in charge, and you know, Young Min is very wary of him being in charge because he doesn't know how to operate, right? But for some reason, as he was telling him what was going on, as Young Min was pretty much talking in the room what was going on, it was kind of like the intern was able to hear him because he was repeating everything he was saying. So I wonder how they are going to show you them interacting with each other. So when they get to the operation room, um, you know, there I can't believe that could be true. You're telling me that there's no surgeons in the hospital at that time? No surgeons? But then again, I guess he was the one that was supposed to be on time. But the other surgery took so long that I would think they would have another surgeon on on staff, right? On call or something. But there was no one. So the only person that could get it done was the intern. So, he was, and Young Min was in the operating room, or his ghost was in the operating room, and he was yelling so much, and he was even trying to pick up the scalpel to like kind of perform the surgery on himself, but he couldn't. But he was yelling so much that when he held the hand of the intern, he was able to grab it, and kind of like they became one, so to speak. They became one, and he took over his body. So like, if it could happen like that, and they're like, oh, he was taken over by a spirit 12 years ago, so would we say that something very similar happened to Young Min 12 years ago? And if they're in fact one right now at the end of episode one, how are they going to get them apart? Right? So is it going to be one of those where it's like once he wakes up, um, once he wakes up, his spirit goes back to his body? Or is it going to be, um, there's always those where whenever they accomplish something, that's when they go back to their regular body. So I wonder which turn this series is going to go. But after episode one, I mean, I'm hooked. I actually want to see how how they experiment with this series. And especially if he ends up, as the intern now, if he ends up saving saving Young Min, which obviously he will. But if he ends up saving him, I wonder how they're going to treat him now. So episode 2 starts and it looks like someone called him out, right? Someone called him and he went to the spot where he used to meet his ex-girlfriend in the past. He didn't know who it was. The person just said, "We have to meet now." Well, didn't really call him, but texted him. When he gets there, no one shows up. And the reason I know it's the spot where his ex girlfriend and him used to meet up is because he had a memory when he was there. So now, on while he's there, he gets a call from the doctor saying that something happened to the patient and that he needed to come back right away. So he's driving like very fast, to trying to get back to the hospital. But on his way there, you could see this guy on this motorcycle that just kept looking at him. He was at a red light and the guy just kept looking at him. And he was, once the light turned green, he was supposed to, go straight. But since there was traffic, he did a quick right turn and the motorcycle kept following him, right? So he goes under a tunnel. They're both going very fast. And the motorcycle comes in next to him as soon as they're the getting off from the tunnel. There's a merging lane. So let's say there's 3 lanes in the tunnel. He's on the right lane. The motorcycles are on the middle lane. So when they get out from under the tunnel, there's a merging lane from outside of the tunnel, and the motorcycle swipes right in front of him. So he tries to swerve right to avoid hitting the motorcycle, but then there's a big truck that comes and hits Young Min on the right side of his car, causing everybody to like flip and turn and so on. So that's how they showed you the accident happened. So now when everyone is back in the hospital and they're trying to find the other doctors, they can't find them. So the only person who could operate on him was the intern. So for the first part, if you remember at the end of episode 1, I said that, Young Min pretty much took over his body. If you he took over his body. So now he was able to get through the first part of the surgery. And still in that time frame, they're trying to find the other doctors. Until one of the ones from the ER, I'm guessing he's still an intern. He got to the he got upstairs and told the other doctors, like, come down, Dr. Cha is in the ER or is in the OR, and they really need another doctor to get in there. So one of the other doctors from his team, well, 2 of them, got to the OR in time to fix the other problem he was having. But since his blood pressure was low, I think it was either low or it was too high during the whole time for a long period of time. So that's the reason why they're saying they really need to monitor him and see if he's going to wake up. And also during that time, the reason why the intern couldn't continue the second round is because um, somehow Young Min got out of the body of the intern, and went into his own body, but he couldn't stay in his own body for too long. And that's when you saw like he was ready to die, because even the ghost was, vanishing while the body was dying. So after the other doctors got him back to stable, you saw that the ghost came back. And for whatever reason, the girl broke up with him. I think she still has some kind of feelings for him, because when she found out that, you know, he was in the hospital, she ran and just to go see him on the operating table, and she was crying. So maybe there's still some feelings there. So maybe they might get together in the end if he comes back alive. So, and the reason I'm saying if is because he ran into this other ghost called Socrates, or Tess for short. And the other guy, the other ghost told him, once you possess a body, you can't go back into your original body. And he's like, technically, you're not supposed to be able to do that, but somehow you were able to do that. So I'm like, okay, well then that means he's not a coma ghost then. I mean, I get it. His body's in a coma and he's a ghost. But if you're telling me that a coma ghost can't possess another body, then that would mean that he's not a coma ghost, or there's an exception, right? And if you're telling me that he can't go back to his body because he possessed someone else, how are they going to, you know, get him back to his rightful place? And he's pretty much spending most of his time as the ghost right now by his own body. So, just trying to monitor, the doctors and seeing what they're putting it in his body and how often, or if they're doing their jobs properly. The intern, Song Tak, also came to see him and told him like he better wake up, because he wants to learn more from him and so on. And Young Min is like, once I get back into my body, I'm going to make you pay. And I'm like, that's no way to treat the only person you've been able to possess so far. Now, is it? But honestly, I don't really trust any of the people in the, it's only episode 2, and I'm like, somebody literally tried to kill this man, right? Whoever was on the motorcycle was after him, wanted to cause harm to him, right? So he could have been hired by any one of the people in the hospital, right? So, and not a lot of people like him because of his personality. So it could be any one of them that's trying to kill him or get rid of him. So I think with him also being a ghost that no one knows is around is the perfect opportunity to go around and listen to the different conversations that these people are having, you know? And with the fact that Suntak did the first solo um, surgery of his career, and as an intern, people are like questioning him, like, were you always this good? Like, were you hiding? Like, what happened? Like, who are you really? Because people know him as not being able to do surgery, and for him to do surgery very well on his first try, so some questions are coming out, you know? And the girl, the other intern, she did see him, twist his wrist just like Young Min. So she was like, did I see this correctly? Like, did he really do that? What is going on here? So another person I don't trust is Say Sejin's brother. Um I think that's her name. So Young Min's ex-girlfriend, like I said before, her father is the one that's in that was operated on, and then after Young Min operated on him, something happened, right? So now he is also in a coma, and while he's in a coma, you know Young Min can see him. He appeared in front of him and was able to hit him and told him, like, go fix my issue. So maybe we're gonna be seeing more ghosts, more patient ghosts, like the more patient ghosts. Maybe we might even see the other people that he told needed to get out of the hospital. Maybe their ghost is roaming around because they're also in a coma. But yeah, I don't trust her brother, because even in the beginning, when Young Min was against the operation, the son wanted it to happen. So maybe he wants the father out of the way very quickly. And also, his relationship and Sejin's relationship is not really good. He even told her, like, I don't consider you my sister. It was only when the father was okay that she was considered a sister, and now that he's not, there's no reason for her to even see him in the hospital. Um so and we also find out who actually texted him. So she was the one who wanted to meet him at the spot. So I guess that's why she ran into the OR and, crying, because she's the one who pulled him out of the hospital. So maybe in some way she kind of feels responsible for what happened. And with the way that the brother is acting towards her, I kind of feel like maybe they don't have the same mother. Because if she didn't know who her father was, and it was 12 years ago that she figured out who her father was, I'm guessing they probably don't have the same mother, and that's why the brother doesn't, like, treat her like a real sibling. And I'm also guessing that what happened 12 years ago to make her leave, they probably forced her to leave, because as a ghost now he can hear what was happening. So he kind of heard the interaction between the two siblings, and he was like, you dumped me just to be treated like that. But I feel like maybe she didn't have a choice in dumping him, and they probably made her dump him, and that wouldn't shock me one bit. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, if he's a ghost, just like, Young Min, if the chairman, Sejing's father, is a ghost, just like the Young Min, that means he's able to hear everything that's going on. And if he's spending time in his room, he should be able to hear what people are saying around him. And that's exactly what happened. His son came and was like, oh, if you had just given me what I wanted, none of this would have happened. You should have listened to your doctor daughter and we wouldn't even be in this mess if you had just given me what I wanted. I mean, that's your own father, and you're gonna do that because of greed? Like, that's crazy to me. And then the person responsible, see, I knew it. I was like, someone's trying to kill him. So maybe it wasn't even her who texted him out of the building. He Because it was the, what is his position? He's at the higher up of all the doctors. Um he's the cousin. He's Sung Dak's cousin, I think. Yeah. He's the one who hired someone to crash into Young Min's car. And Young Min is listening to all of this, but he can't even do anything about it, you know, until he possesses the intern again, because that's the only person right now he's able to possess. So I want to make a correction. It's not his cousin, but um his brother. So it's his brother that is working with the son of the chairman. And by chairman, I mean Sejing's father. Um, so yeah, there's a lot going on here. And he said there's a doctor that is on his side. So a doctor um that was on Young Min's team is on his side. So that means, but Young Min is thinking that it's the intern, but it's not. He's really innocent in all of this. So yeah, so it's not the intern's cousin, but the intern's brother. That's who is working. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So during the end of episode 2, something happened to Young Min's body. And you see the intern pretty much running to him. So I wonder what they did, because the brother doesn't want him to wake up. You know, if he wakes up, he's probably going to be like, I want to fix the chairman and blah, blah, blah. So he doesn't want him to wake up. And then you see, as he's running, he kind of merged with him. So I don't know if that was like a final merge, because the merge that they did was definitely different from the other 2 times. And this wraps up our journey on the Review Garden. Thank you for joining me today as we explored this drama. If you enjoyed this reaction and review, please remember to subscribe for more insightful videos. Don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your feedback helps our channel grow. As always, I'm truly grateful for your support and for joining me on this journey on the Review Garden. Until next time, and happy listening. Bye.